I'm famous. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch the ArenaNet documentary here in a moment. I haven't seen the whole thing. I did see bits and pieces of it last night while it was premiering because I couldn't help it. I was excited. I am featured in it multiple times. Not as like my clips. I'm not like, I didn't do anything extra for it, but like my clips are, my reaction videos are in it multiple times. Spoilers, it's about Guild Wars, that's right. It's about, oh my god, these wonderful, wonderful devs that I've known for so long. So many of them that I've gotten to meet. They've been with this game and the studio for like 20 years. It's gonna be really emotional. It's really emotional. It's like a really, really well-constructed documentary. I knew that they were using something because they contacted me and said, can we have permission to use your videos in the documentary? They had just mentioned one clip. They said the end of dragons. They said, can we use your videos? There's a clip from the end of dragons that we want to use. I thought it was going to be me crying at Suwan, which is really what got the tears going, but it's something else. I just said you could use whatever you want. That might have been why they used a bunch of my stuff, because I literally just said you can use whatever of mine you want. Go crazy. I was like, have free reign, have it. So they were just like, okay. I deserve my own NPC in Guild Wars 2. I have something better. The peach tree. The peach tree in Lake Doric is ours. That peach tree is there because of us. It's a magical peach tree they put in Lake Doric, and it's a point of interest called the peach tree, and there's a daily called the peach a day. And that is a dedication to us, to our community. And there's different little, nods to creators and stuff throughout the game, and I think that's amazing. Let's watch it. This is just on YouTube. This is on YouTube. Anybody can watch it for free. Amazing. It's 55 minutes long. Oh, hold on. I gotta move Strawley. My Strawley. Jelly Bean. My Strawley. I'm gonna show off. My Australis, my commander, made by Jelly Bean, 3D printed and painted this. And earlier this year, I met April Stewart, the voice of the female commander. She's been a voice since Guild Wars 1, and she signed it for me. She was so nervous. She's like, "You really want me to sign this?" She's like, "I might mess it up. I'm so sorry." I was like, "You won't mess it up. You're fine." All right, here we go. Thank you for your patience. Appreciate you.
As a studio, I'm glad we're here after 20 years.
People say, how do you work somewhere for 20 years? Well, in the game business, you are lucky enough to work at a studio that still exists after 25. And that's rare and a wonderful thing. And that just comes back to the DNA of the studio.
There's this secret little culture that I think is just...
Is that an Ori pinata?
Respect
Bash
our
the
players
Dragon. The PAX South event. I want his shirt.
It's players first, right? Like, make sure that we're doing right by them.
Oh,
a huge part of what makes ArenaNet
Colin.
unique is when we start out to build a brand new game from scratch, and this process was used to make Guild Wars 1, it's used to make Guild Wars 2.
Oh my god.
We'll use it for any game we ever make in the future. The idea is when we look at what are the player problems in the industry, what are the frustrations in the genre that players have, what are the opportunity spaces where there are things that we could solve for, that if we could solve those complex problems, that players would feel like games were more approachable, the genre was a better genre to play in.
Really
I'm so glad Colin's back at ArenaNet. Mike Z.
is a reflection of our culture, building a place where everyone is welcome.
Matt.
Because we do have a fantastic community.
That just deepens our story.
Bobby.
I really love the experience to be able to work on a game like this.
We're thrilled you're here. Come on.
I know all those people. I've met most of them. Yay. It's so good. Look at all the artwork just everywhere.
The backstory of ArenaNet, yeah. So back in 2000, the three original founders of ArenaNet, Jeff, Pat, and Mo, left Blizzard, and they're often credited as the creators of BattleNet for Blizzard, which is a really big deal for those of us who grew up in the 90s or the 2000s, or even still today. BattleNet's still a big deal. And they wanted to form a new company based on the things that inspired by a lot of what they loved about Blizzard and the things that they wanted to create out of an entirely new game
He's holding
studio.
a pen.
So they started off, I believe, in Pat's living room, and then eventually ended up in Mo's living room, and then eventually they ended up getting a location that became the first spot that the studio
These legendary
was built out
pictures.
from. And now, 2 locations later, we're in this amazing location today.
The founders
studio is
all came from an
insane. It's
engineering
so
and design
amazing.
background. And so they did some amazing things with pipelines and streaming and the technology, the foundation of the engine that Guild Wars was built on.
So I got started in 2003. ArenaNet was kind of an unknown then
Matthew's
still.
been there forever.
We hadn't shipped Guild Wars yet. But I knew the pedigree of the 3 founders. They all had great reputations
At
at
Eve
Blizzard. And so there was a lot of that DNA that they wanted to bring up here and start this studio.
Whoa!
If you go back to all the way to the beginning and the roots of when Guild Wars 1 was created, the number one player problem back in the early 2000s that was identified was, why do people have to pay a subscription fee to play these giant online MMO games with their friends? And so everything about Guild Wars 1 was created with the idea of solving for an online game
Oh my god, it's like
without having to charge a monthly subscription fee, which was
funny is like the graphics are like, like so different. Look at the skill icons. Look at the skill icon. I know I want to play these builds for the lulz, right? This is like just not even alpha. This is like just constructing the game, like from the ground up, right? Like everything. You have to make everything. Like you don't have any assets, right? Like you just have to like lay the foundation for everything. Look how even back then, like the skill, the health and magic bar, like how like it's still those 2 bars, right? Like in Guild Wars 2, the health turned into like the big circle in the middle, right? And it's that's like really iconic. But in Guild Wars 1, it was those 2 bars, and it like really it is those 2 bars. Like that's what it ended up being, right? A lot less skills. We have your weapons on one side. That's so cool. But like looking at like so many of this is like we've never seen these. We've never seen these
run without having to charge
images before. What I love about this is like, obviously like, the creatures are completely different. The graphics are really rough, but like the terrain, as weird as this sounds, like to me, the terrain feels Guild Wars. Like I feel like that's the feel of the map itself, the land itself, like is what made it into the final version of Guild Wars 1 that we know today, right? Doesn't it? The terrain feels Guild Wars, like the topography or whatever. I don't know. It's like it's got that feel. Oh, here, this was even earlier because it's got the bars over here. Interesting. Oh my gosh, this is like running in a window. Guild Wars is insane. The menu stayed at the bottom left. Hey, Spec. Oh my god.
Monthly subscription fee, which was, especially at the time, they were expensive. It's a big limiting factor to get people in to play your game.
Oh wow.
And so Guild Wars 1 was built from the ground up with
Even then,
every
still the art
single
on the
piece
walls.
of the game taken into account of how to operate it incredibly inexpensively.
So when I was still contracting on audio, I met with a couple of the founders, Jeremy and I, and we were talking about integrating the music and then talking about all the fancy stuff you could do with audio. One of the founders said, no, we're not doing that. Like, what do you mean? This game's gonna be awesome, it should have awesome audio. It is going to have awesome audio. We have a good, solid audio system, and we've hired people that are gonna make great sounds, but all that stuff you wanna do, we don't need to do, because that's not what this game is about. This game is about multiplayer online play, cooperative play. To me, that was huge. That was where someone said, yes, we're doing this, but we're not doing this.
So everything about the way that
Well, what they're doing versus not doing is they're focusing on community from the very beginning. I think that's why they've been so successful, is from the very beginning, the literal foundation of ArenaNet's core philosophy as a studio is like the players first, right? And like, we're not trying to, have, the best sound in the industry. Yes, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be, it's going to sound great. but that's not the focus. And so when they saw someone focusing on something that wasn't like community and players first, because it's an MMO, right? So it's like, you know, players all together. Like anything that wasn't that first was kind of redirected to players first, is like how I'm interpreting that, which again, they've been around for 25 years with the same franchise, right? Oh my gosh. Did you, Vilcrin? Oh my gosh. I should look up all of my ancient photos of the events and pictures with everyone. Yes, I have a video of me with Mike O'Brien, one of the original 3 founders. I mean, he's not with the company anymore, but I have like a 10-second video I took. We were like walking at PAX South. We were all walking from like one building to the other, and I just saw him kind of walking by himself, and so back in the day, this was like 10 years ago, I was that annoying person who like just what ran up to him with my little camera and just I don't even remember what it said, but like I was like, so this event's really cool, right? They were all so nice. I think that was the Heart of Thorns announcement. Yeah, because I think that's the first time. Yeah, that was the first time. The PAX South Heart of Thorns announcement was the first time I ever met everyone. That was the first event. It was right after that, like a week or 2 after that they invited us to the studio. But that PAX South event was the very first event that like we ever got invited to. It was me, Bog, Jebro, and Chronic Gamer. It was like they had like 2 PvP guys and 2 PvE people, creators, and you know, there was a lot less back then. So you know, we stood out a little more because there just wasn't as many of us. And so that PAX South event was the first event. Yeah, and that's where we initially met everyone, and that's where when Ruby saw me, and I met her in the hotel lobby, and she squealed. We both squealed and ran across the hotel lobby and hugged each other. It was one of those. It's so cool because like, you know, as massive fans as we are of them and what they create, they're also fans of us. And so like it's like a mutual squeeing. It's like a mutual, like, you know, meeting this person you admire. It was really like a really cool feeling. We used to do the pre-show. Bog and I used to do the pre-show and the post-show for their guild chats or whatever it was called at the time. Yeah. That was like pre-partner program. Yeah. It was y'all were the best part of the event. Oh man, that whole event was wild. It was so much fun. Don't forget my husband, Wooden Potatoes. That's right, because Mr. P was at that event, and everybody's, you know, of course, looking for pictures of Wooden Potatoes. He wasn't at that event. He was at the second studio visit that I went to. And so everybody saw Mr. P in his Tony Stark cosplay, and Reddit started calling him Wooden Potatoes, and we're going, no, that's Peachy's husband, and they're like, Peachy's husband is Wooden Potato. It's just, no, God, well, he's not even there. He wasn't even there. It was crazy. It was so funny.
Servers work, the way that we pass data across the internet.
Look at that. Look at all the
we
players.
kind of invented the microservices model that is so common today with AWS and all these other shared services, and built it at ArenaNet before it really was a common thing anywhere
never
else
seen
with
this stuff. This
distributed
is
networking.
insane.
We've had a physics simulation that was incredibly inexpensive. Those of us on the design team spent a huge amount of our time evaluating exact rules of when creatures woke up in the world and when they went to sleep. All of these things to reduce the overhead of running a giant online game, to solve the core player problem of creating an online game that we could just sell and not have to charge a subscription fee for.
Wow. See, the players first. That was the foundation.
There was only about 20 of us at the time at the start of the studio, so everybody had to wear a lot of different hats.
For many years, I was volunteering for whatever needed to get done. So I took the screenshots that were on the back of like the boxes for Prophecies and Factions. I made trailers.
I was a 3D artist at the time, and so I got my start doing a lot of odd jobs initially.
Look at little Matthew.
First 2 major roles at the studio was one to design the company logo and the Guild Wars logo, and then the other one was to develop sort of initial concepts for what our UI for Guild Wars was going to be.
Wow, look at that. Oh, they got the 8 skills.
Before I came to work here, one of the things that had me most excited when I read about the Guild Wars franchise was the idea that this is a studio that was willing to take their game very early in development
I don't think I've ever seen
and
Colin
just put it
not
out there
smile.
for as much feedback as possible. There's a moment where a few years before launch, they took Guild Wars to E3, they put it on the show floor, and they turned the game on online so
look at
that
the ArenaNet logo. Wait, look at the old ArenaNet logo.
There's a moment where a few years before launch, they took Guild Wars to E3,
of course,
they put
NCSoft,
it on the show floor, and
look at the old ArenaNet logo. I actually really like that. There's like a planet kinda in the background. I actually really like that. I'm glad they simplified it, but I like that. And no, the only time you ever see Colin not smiling is if you mention Cantha. Well, now it's fine. Now, if I ever see him again, I'm gonna say Cantha.
And they turned the game on online so that anyone globally could play the game online at the same time in alpha form with the people on the show floor.
Oh my God,
at
who
E3.
got to play the
And that
Guild
was
Wars 1
unheard of.
alpha?
There had never been anything done like that before.
And
What?
we all went down to Los Angeles and we hit the convention floor. This was our chance to kind of make a mark of like, this is our game. And a lot of people hadn't heard of it yet. I mean, that was just an electric moment of
I was like the
that
year
first sense
2000,
of, like,
just like ancient
people
now.
like what we're doing.
Just the amount of interest, the amount of passion, the amount that we saw our community grow kind of overnight, just by letting people play
Who
the
has
game.
that shirt?
I don't know about the
Oh my
the
God.
higher ups, but like me personally
want
at
his
that
shirt.
point, I was like, oh yeah, we got something here.
There were so many golden moments from that show.
There was a brief period of time where actually Guild Wars Live at E3 was like the 5th largest online game in the world when it was just a demo.
At the very end of the event,
Oh my
we ended up having a
God.
party in like the main town. It was Ascalon City at the time. I was
There
actually
wasn't a
the
lot of-
video
there wasn't a
recorder
lot
at
of
the time, so I
MMOs
was
back then.
Sitting there doing fly-throughs of the crowds and just
Oh
watching
my
them do like conga
God.
lines and stuff like that. And just
Seeing
all
faction.
of the hype,
That's
like
later.
seeing all the players being like, "Oh my God, I'm so sad this is getting shut down. I can't wait for it to come out." Like it was, it was a moment.
Aww. Look at that Eve. Look at the not Eve. The Sin. I don't know if I've ever seen that Sin image. I've like the others are just like, yeah, that's the standard picture of Eve. I don't think I've ever seen Sin in that pose. Wow. Oh my gosh. Regal Peach, thank you for the hydration. Oh, everybody hydrate. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. All this footage like that they've been sitting on, they must have just dug stuff out. Like, okay, who's got ancient pictures on their camera, right? Wow. And you got to remember, this is before like everybody had an HD camera in their pocket. Right now, everybody's just got cell phones. Everything's documented in HD, right? Like that's what's the coolest thing about like these old photos is like it's rare. Old photos like this are rare because not everybody just had that in their pocket, right? This was about the time that people were starting to get things like cell phones, but like, yeah, it was not common.
One of our core tenets, and this has been part of Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, was to make something that was artisanal, handcrafted, and to make something that didn't look computer generated. That when you're looking at a frame, that you're looking at a piece of art versus
playing one of my favorite
CG
songs.
experiment. Like how far can we push this?
So for Guild Wars, the original Guild Wars, there's a whimsy to it that I don't see in a lot of games.
We're not trying to be super grungy or serious all the time.
You know, the art style, it's not just an art style, it's a art concept.
But I enjoy the push.
Wow, look at that guy.
To like push forms a little bit bigger, to exaggerate things a little bit more, to work more in that stylized realm.
In some of the maps, like they're the big icebergs that look like ships. You know, that's what I mean about it's more of an art concept than an art style. You're like, mixes stuff together in ways where it's recognizable but fresh.
It's a weird IP in some ways, right? Because it has you know, bits of fantasy, it has bits of sci-fi, it's dragons, but it's also jade golems and floating cube cities and a little bit of cyberpunk over here, but a little bit, you know, medieval over here. It's a really vast world.
One of the big things as we were continuing to move forward was that we didn't want technology to be in itself what we're gonna hang our hat on. You don't look at Mario Brothers and say, oh, that looks lesser than. It is what it is, and it's 100% correct for what it is. It's not trying to do different things. It's not trying to do mocap, you know, and all of these technological advancements. It's just going, they're pixels, they're colored pixels, and it's fun and it works.
That's the key.
At the beginning, when I first joined
Yes.
the company, Guild Wars 1 was kind of an experiment. Like, we were trying to figure out how to create storied missions and campaigns that could be experienced in any order and allow players to kind of take these characters, go on these fantastical journeys, all through the lens of a skill capping system where the skill builds and customization was all part of it.
So some of the unique things that brought people to the Guild Wars franchise, especially early on, that separated it from the...
Man, every time I see Guild Wars 1, I just want to play Guild Wars 1. I could play Guild Wars. I could pick up Guild Wars 1 at any second and just start playing. Yeah, Mike Z's back. Mike Z was the studio director for a while. And I think he left for a bit, and yeah, he came back, and I think they talk about, at some point in this, about how there's a lot of people who leave but then end up coming back because they realized, oh no, that ArenaNet was awesome, I'm gonna stay there. Not that they left because they were unhappy or whatever, just maybe they got a better opportunity, or they who knows, you know, whatever it might be. But yeah, Colin's so handsome. Bookworm, how's it going, Bookworm? There are more. I've never seen any more dev memes than Colin. It's that like Guild Wars 2 launch, like, and it's that smile. I mean, his head's on the front of the hype train. Oh my gosh. ArenaNet kept the game going as well without season or battle passes, no cash shop, no constant expansions. Yeah, well, they had constant like campaigns that came out. Right, Guild Wars 1 was incredible what it accomplished. Absolutely incredible.
The other games in the MMO space was our focus on what we call horizontal progression. The idea being that you could level your character up to max level very, very quickly. Guild Wars 1 only had 20 levels in it. And so in a matter of a couple of days, you know, a week, you could get your character up to max level.
When I first started here, Guild Wars 1 was quite a bit smaller. What we call explorable zones between the actual missions, they weren't in yet. Originally,
oh my god, I've never seen that. Look at that. Ascalon and the wall, and oh my god. That's like if someone actually like drew a map of Tyria, of Ascalon. Oh my god, look at the symbol in the upper right. What is this symbol? Little ArenaNet, like, little tabby here. Ascalon, North Shiver Peaks, cried out of the wild, Southern Shiver Peaks. Wow. These little symbols only changed a little bit. Ah, it's so cool. Yeah, switching maps, like the drop down, the switch maps. Oh man. Guild Wars 1's overworld map is better than a lot of modern games.
Explorable zones between the actual missions, they weren't in yet. Originally, we assumed that PvE would be sort of a staging ground for people to learn the core mechanics of the game, and then eventually they would shift over to the PvP side of the game. And we actually found throughout the development that players really gravitated towards the sort of PvE side of Guild Wars 1. We thought it was going to be more like you do the PvE area to learn the functionality of the game, and then you shift over to PvP. But it turns out that people really just wanted more of that PvE experience. So we added the explorable zones, which, God, when I think about it, it probably tripled the amount of like playable space there was on the PvE side, because that was the bulk of the play space.
Wow. 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 I'm glad those early players like kind of voiced their, you know, showed that they wanted more PvE. Wow. So they thought it was going to be kind of like that PvE was going to be like a starter for like just almost the tutorial for a PvP game. And then people were like, no, we want PvE. Wow. It's like vault footage.
Back in 2007, my husband actually started playing first.
Ruby!
And I was just reading a book on the couch. I glanced up and saw this beautiful, like, pastoral landscape on his computer screen and had this moment of, what's that? It was the original Guild Wars. It was pre-searing, which is the tutorial area, basically, if you're not familiar. And it was absolutely stunning. And I wanted to play too.
Pre-searing Ascalon, that got added pretty late. That was kind of an 11th hour addition. I think it
Wow.
made the game, honestly.
It was on that day that the Char discovered a way around the Great Wall.
The game originally started and you were in Ascalon
Spoiler.
and it was completely destroyed. And you know, that's unfortunate to see this place that's all ruined, but by adding pre-searing and letting people get a glimpse of it pre-destruction, they got to see that loss. They're like, this place was beautiful and look at it now. I mean, there's a lot of people to this day that still resent the Char race that we have in Guild Wars 2 as a playable race because of Ascalon, and that was like, what, 20 years ago?
Back when Guild Wars 1
There's
first
that
shipped,
collector's
we had
edition.
no idea what to do with the game after launch day. We were just hoping to ship and have it be successful. And so when all of these players poured into the game, and all of a sudden we had this giant audience, we all kind of looked at each other like, well, what do we do now? And so we spent a couple of months just having fun and inventing this place called Saros Furnace, which was the first live update in the history of the Guild Wars franchise outside of holidays.
Wow.
And then we decided we really should have expansions in this game, because that, in a game with no subscription fee, we're gonna need expansions if we want to viably be able to pay to keep the business going. And we embarked on this absolutely crazy concept of every 6 months we were going to ship expansions. And
Insane.
so we shipped Guild Wars factions, and it wasn't just an expansion. We called them campaigns because they were full expansion and they had an entire standalone entry part of the game that made it so you didn't even need to own the base game. You could just buy Guild Wars factions as a standalone game.
That was
play
wild.
the entire game level 1 to 20 in factions, and then play the rest of the game on top of that.
And so I just want to say, I think I'm more proud of this game than anything that I've ever worked on.
When we originally launched Guild Wars Factions, it was the first time that I had been in the studio and we were launching the game.
Mike,
and
so
this
many
was really early on as in my days as a QA tester here at the company. It was special for a number of reasons. One is that the studio made us feel like we were part of it. It wasn't like QA was some outsourced group that was there to, check their work, so to speak, or make sure that things were perfect.
Look at all the factions
But
boxes!
we worked side by side with the developers, and we were proving to them what in-house QA could do. Being able to sit side by side with all these people as the button was being pressed, as we were letting all the new players into the new campaign,
that artwork
was
on that.
phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
It was nice to be able to spend some time playing with them
Push the
in
button.
real time.
The game is running smooth as silk. The problems that we're working on this last day are tiny, tiny little problems, compared to any other release we've ever done. So,
that's why I say something different.
So let's give everyone here a hand for the great work done.
Oh,
and we did that,
man.
and then 6 months later, we turned around and shipped another one of those called Guild Wars Nightfall.
Insane.
Nightfall is officially launched.
That's when I started.
We're a couple hours early. And so what we're going to do here is bring it up on the big screen TV so you can see. Now here's the trick. Nightfall doesn't go on sale until tomorrow. Okay? So the only people who are getting it at this point are, there are some stores that sold it before they were supposed to sell it. Some people have it at home. And then we started selling it online a couple hours ago. And we've had 2,000 people buy access keys online. So
and we realized this is
so
crazy.
awesome.
What are we doing? We can't build an entire new game every 6 months and keep repeating it. It was exhausting and really hard on the team. But also, if you think back on it, the idea of a massive expansion like that every 6 months, it's borderline unheard of in the history of the MMO space, and it's pretty incredible. We pulled it off.
No. We have to go up here to damage him, and then once he gets back, he falls and we damage his core. And then he stands back up, and we need to go back up that way.
Oh my god.
I really love the mantra that we are game developers, but first and foremost, we're community developers, and we just do it the best way possible, which is through games. And so a lot of the pillars that we put in terms of the design philosophy was always trying to make it so we were excited about seeing other players, and how do we create that close-knit friendships, those collaborative experiences, because that's what transcends time. And so ultimately it was going to be the stories that players took away from the game, not necessarily the game itself.
I love Guild Wars a lot.
Wow.
I mean, a lot. You know, I love Guild Wars 1 a lot. I played the assassin class from Factions, and at the time, that was the most hated class because all the nerds were like, oh, Naruto, let's play assassin, let's go. I just liked the class, okay? I thought it was a fun class. I was really into
Love
it,
what
and
you
I was
love.
unwilling to give up, so I was an assassin main. Getting a group to want an assassin because it was just flooded at the time was nearly impossible in Guild Wars 1, especially right after Factions. So I could not find a group to get through missions.
No.
So what I ended up having to do was become a leader and say, okay, anyone's welcome. You know, I'll be the leader, I'll form up this group to go into this mission. And at times we would sometimes have 4 assassins, and they were like, there's no way we can do this. And I said, yes, there is, okay? I have this build, if you do this build, and if you try this build, right? We can do this. And they weren't sure. I said, no, we can do this. We try it, we succeed.
That's so
and
cool.
I did this multiple times with different groups of like oddball like setups of classes. And they were always impressed when we could finish at the end, and we could. When I reflect back on it, it was
so awesome.
Kind of the first time I got confidence in being a leader. It sounds silly, but like this game taught me what does it mean to be a leader, especially in hard times.
Building a place where everyone is welcome. That was the core element behind all the mechanics that we've designed, the story that we tell.
They know that they can come to our game and there's something to do, there's people to hang out with.
The fact that you can play with a stranger and they're not going to kill you on sight, but instead when you are in need of help, they can help you. We incentivize being a good human. You get XP for reviving a downed person. You can share the consumables you make with other people to help them get through a fight. There are like little things that we do in how we make the game function that incentivize better camaraderie.
Yeah.
I've had interactions in the past on our social media channels where somebody who was new to the community did not really understand how something worked, and it wasn't that they were necessarily saying something hateful or negative, it was just indicating that they were new. So many times I could just sit back, I didn't need to do anything because our existing community would come in and help them and show them, this is how it works here. We're thrilled you're here, come on.
And remember, my friend, you never fight alone.
Thanks, Cormier.
Right about then, we realized that the things we were trying to do with Guild Wars 1 wasn't going to be viable for us 10, 15 years later, for us to keep building on top of the franchise and growing the way that we wanted to. And we looked around and we were building a project then called Guild Wars Utopia.
Oh, Utopia! The lost Utopia.
We were always continuing to push the bounds of types of features that we wanted in, the types of skills that we wanted into the game. And that's when we really started experimenting with what would a true new iteration of the franchise look like.
I don't think I've ever seen that
when
one.
we were actually talking about Utopia originally as a kind of the 4th campaign, a lot of the ideas were, hey, I think we need to go back to the beginning. We need to restart some of this conversation. So it really was about always trying to find some innovative way to push forward, to find meaning in the design choices that we were making and not just putting things in for the sake of, here's a new bullet for the back of the box. And that was kind of the impetus of how we started focusing on Guild Wars 2.
Wow.
And so a large chunk of the ideas for Utopia and the development for Utopia and the developers moved on to start building the concept for Guild Wars 2. And we stayed and built one more expansion, Guild Wars Eye of the North, which was very much designed to both close the story of Guild Wars 1, but also to be a setup for Guild Wars 2 that would release later.
And when we were building Eye of the North, we kind of knew, here's some of the stuff that we're gonna set the seeds for. These mountain ranges that you were like, if you squint, you would realize that this is a dragon.
At the time, we had a very mature game and mature community, and like they had a lot of tools and tricks in their thing. They'd come up with all the perfect builds and everything like that. So it was actually really exciting to be able to be like, we could kind of take the gloves off now.
The initial pitch for Guild Wars 2, just like inside the studio, felt like the vision was so compelling.
We're under attack!
The first thing we would talk about in the meetings when they were like, here's what we're gonna do, was the
Man,
open world.
I remember that feeling of running out there, that human tutorial mission right there. I remember that first feeling of like playing Guild Wars 2 for the very first time. Because like I had played Guild Wars 1, so I was like, you know, anticipating Guild Wars 2, right? Like it wasn't just like my first experience with the Guild Wars franchise. Like I remember that feeling. of playing 2 for the very first time, and was just like, especially that Shaymore mission right there. Oh my god, like it just like it was so new, but it was so familiar at the same time because it was the Guild Wars universe, and man, that is heavy nostalgia right there. Miss Michelle, thank you so much for the resub. Yes, yes. Oh, I'm so glad you guys remember those feelings too. The in-game login screen. I miss it. It was so good.
World nature of the game and open world events, and saying we're not going to do quests where you've got a character with an exclamation point over their head. There's just going to be centaurs attacking this farm, and you'll see the centaurs attacking, you'll be like, I'm going to save those people.
This idea of, okay, we can build these dynamic zones, we can add like vertical jumping, which wasn't part of the original Guild Wars 1. And as we started exploring more and more of this, we just wanted to go, tear the engine down to those bare bones and then rebuild it up as kind of that next iteration.
So it is a drastically different game, but I do feel like the heart of Tyria really carried over. Like even the map design is a very good example where you go to certain areas of maps and it's like, yeah, this is what I would expect that same place to look like 250 years later.
Wow.
MMOs are definitely a challenge to work on and to create. You have to think about how do you tell a compelling story over 10 years. That's not an easy thing to do.
It is overwhelming working on an MMO all the time. There is no harder type of game that you can make in game development. It is the most complex with the most variables and the largest scope of games and the largest array of players who all want different experiences.
Yeah. Putting on our storyteller's hat, okay, we're writing a story that's designed to take a player tens or even hundreds of hours to complete. We want to give you a lot of side content. We want to make sure that we're giving you just enough, but not too much. There's a lot of lore that we want to convey.
And the firstborn awakened.
So trying to figure out how to pace it, where you put it, are there different channels you put it in? This will be voiced, this will be a thing that you read when you click on it. This is optional, but this has to be done.
You get a lot of random things in your game that maybe make it less cohesive, but they all come from a particular dev that is very passionate about one thing, and finds an audience for that one thing, because it's an MMO. There's a very large audience.
So with Guild Wars 2, it was just like, okay, what do we have to work with? We went from characters being hand-painted textures that took about a week to full ZBrush models that took 6 or 7 weeks to create. And the detail and everything was more, but the time was more as well. So, okay, well, how do we plan around that?
And yet, I sense darkness approaching.
The first year that we took the playable demo for Guild Wars 2 to Gamescom in Germany, and it was really like the giant coming out party for Guild Wars 2 to the world. We did our huge announcement trailer. We brought the game to the show floor to let people play it for the first time. And the first morning before Gamescom opened,
I want that shirt.
We were doing a rehearsal on the show floor. And we had a bunch of dev commands turned on that made it so like enemies couldn't see us and we were invisible in the world and we were running around making sure the demo that was going to go okay. And there was a press outlet that we didn't know was there, and they recorded our screen and recorded all the footage. And they leaked the footage that night, and it was like this grainy, really crappy looking footage that showed the game in the worst possible light because we were using all these dev commands. All our characters were invisible, so all the enemies were just standing around the world not doing anything. And everyone was freaking out. They're like, this game looks terrible, the AI is awful, what have they done? They've ruined the Guild Wars franchise. And we all saw that the first night, and we were heartbroken. What an awful way to start the convention where our game was going to get shown. And then the next day, the show floor opens, and everybody gets to come in and start playing the game for the first time. And we show all the trailers and all the game footage for real with enemies actually reacting to players. And people lost their minds. And the line on the show floor was so long to play the game that they reached the point every day where they had to stop the line because the convention that I think was like 10 or 12 hours long each day, the line was longer than anyone would ever get to play the game.
The queues were maxed out because we did this like 30, 40 minute experience because we want to make sure people had a real chance to experience everything that it had to offer. But we also knew, given that it was designed to be played with players, we needed the studio support, right? So it felt like the world was alive. Because there's nothing worse than like playing an MMO when there's no one around you and you're missing one of the core components for it.
Right. So like, all right, here's the plan. Everyone at the studio is going to play the game that week. We'll all be in the game, running around, acting like we're just more people. So we had the whole studio
Oh my
switch
God.
to European time for the week, starting
Oh
the
my
workday
God.
at midnight.
So the whole studio went on graveyard shift for a week. The whole office was playing with the players in Germany, and they had food trucks across the whole night, 3 food trucks a day, and ice buckets of Monster Energy drink to keep us awake. And we had a command center where people had like a big virtual map of the game, and we could see dots where players are, and if we ever saw a player stray too far away, we'd send a pack of devs over to play with them.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was
wow.
kind of like a LAN party experience for a whole week before launch. That's awesome.
It was a magical moment.
That's
and I tell you what,
amazing.
those 5 days in Germany, like it changed everything for the Guild Wars 2 development team, because we left and we knew we had something.
Yeah. Oh my God.
My gosh,
That'd be
there
so
was
wild.
so much hype, and we had a joke for a while. Unfortunately, for some of these sites, it was not a joke. If we linked to a press article, if we linked to a fan site, they would immediately get the internet hug of death and be crushed under the traffic that we sent. So we were trying to, at one point, we were trying to warn journalists, hey, in 2 hours, I'm going to link to your website. Like, I don't know what you need to do, but you should start doing it now.
That's
because
incredible.
everyone was so unbelievably excited.
That's amazing. Good for them.
Guild Wars 2, very similar core business model, box price to buy the game, no subscription fee
No
at launch.
subscription fee.
So it was actually launch night. We were going to
Oh my
turn the game
God.
on at midnight. Servers are getting ready to be turned on. We had this big TV that was hooked up and could give us a graph of like logins and concurrency.
Oh my God. I actually don't remember. I remember like getting my Guild Wars 2 game box. I don't remember like if I was like sitting there for launch, like, waiting. If it went live at like midnight and you could like, buy it digitally and play it like at midnight when it went live, there was a 3-day head start, which I did, but I got the physical box, so I like went to the store to pick it up. So if it did like a midnight launch or something, I had to wait until the store was open in the morning and then go and get it from the store, right? But then I also did the 3-day head launch. Maybe they gave you the no, they wouldn't have given you the code. I don't remember. I don't have a memory of like I remember playing Guild Wars 2 for the first time, but I don't remember. And I also played one of the beta weekends. But I don't remember like launch day, like if I was, watching the clock counting down. I actually don't have a memory of that.
And, everybody's waiting, bated breath. There was this like ceremonial moment of, all right,
Look at
boom,
everyone.
The servers are live. And then we saw that number go from like 0 and it shot up. I mean, it was hundreds of thousands. It could have been 1 million people that night seeing that in that moment and going, oh,
Wow.
we actually made a game that people want to play and that they like.
Wow.
It was incredible. And I'll never forget that moment.
So the night that we launched Guild Wars 2, Isaiah Cartwright, who was the lead systems designer at the time, the two of us were housemates. We were here for the initial celebration. So we heard the speeches about, the gratitude that NCSoft had, the gratitude that the founders had for helping us get to this point. And the second that they pushed the button, we ran down, we skipped the rest of the party, we jumped in the car, drove home because we immediately had to get home to play with the players. Because it was important for us. We had built this community, whether through the beta events that we had some huge world versus world battles, epic back then, but this was a chance for us to really continue to experience this. It was so cool to be there in that moment that that was more important to us than celebrating with the rest of the studio.
Freaking players first.
But then as the reviews started coming out, and as more
God.
people started playing it, more people started buying it, and it got so big that our servers were refusing connections. It was just
shoot.
overload. And we actually made the deliberate decision to stop sales for a day or two just to control the number of people coming in.
We were struggling to keep everything running because there were so many people online, and we took one night off for all of us to just go celebrate. We rented out a restaurant and bar at the top floor of a mall in downtown Seattle, across the street from PAX. And we thought a bunch of our fans are going to show up. We'll get to meet them. This is going to be incredible. And we got there, and 5 hours before the party started, there was a line all the way around the top floor of the mall that wound down to the middle
They're
floor
like,
of
get
the
out
mall.
of the
And by
game,
the time the
please.
party started, the line had wound all the
Save
way
our
down to the bottom
servers.
floor of the mall. And all night long, just every time somebody would leave and
Regina.
another person came in, there was just this wonderful, joyous celebration with all of our fans.
They
We
still have
signed,
community
I don't
events.
know how many thousands of different posters and artwork and body parts
Oh my-
awkwardly that night, and all sorts of shirts, all sorts of stuff. But it was just this pure moment of the fans and the developers we were all one, celebrating this launch of this game all
Wow.
together that we all loved. I will remember
Oh
that
my
for the rest of
God.
my life.
Victory at last.
It's very
Wow.
reinvigorating because being a game developer is a very difficult job. So having moments of levity where you can see a person face to face and they're just kind of like showing how engaged they are with the things that you created and like the art you brought into this world, it's really exciting.
This is a dawn that Tyria shall never forget. This day is ours.
Is that the end of the OG game? Man, I haven't seen that in 10 years. Oh, cool. Yay. I've seen that trailer. In 2 months, sales in China reached 3.8 million, doubling the game's total sales. Wow, in 2 months. Wow.
After launch, very similar to Guild Wars 1, we tried some really wild ideas. And the wild idea we tried after Guild Wars 2 shipped was this concept that we called Living World.
Oh
And
my
at the
God.
time, our then studio head, who was one of the original founders, challenged all of us on the development team on Guild Wars 2 to try to deliver an experience inspired by how popular Game of Thrones was on HBO at the time, of how everybody was talking about Game of Thrones and everyone was talking about this incredible experience of this water cooler moment where every time a new episode came out, it was all anyone could talk about. He challenged us to come up with what could we do in Guild Wars that would create an experience like that, which is where Living World was born from, of this concept
Wow.
of we would have episodic updates. Eventually we got to the point where we were delivering them every 2 weeks, where the game world would meaningfully change and the
insane.
story would move forward, with the goal of having every 2 weeks everybody would show up and want to be a part of it. And the business model for that started off with originally, we just had those episodes given out for free, and that proved to not be very successsul. We also took the updates
Wow.
out of the game immediately
That-
after, so you had to be there to experience it, more like a TV show.
Right.
Turns out fans hated that idea. And
Yeah.
so we pivoted from that, and then we started
Who
doing,
was there
if
for
you
Living
showed
World
up while
Season
the
1?
episode was live, you got it for free. And if you came after the 2-week window when it was live, you had to pay a small fee to get the episode. And we followed that model for a while, and that also was not a viable business model for us. And eventually we pivoted to going back to delivering an expansion
hold on.
the 2-week window when it was live.
Yeah, because that was a thing. Like being there for season 1, like in those sometimes 2-week releases. That's when it was season 1 when the Twisted Marionette. That's when I started recording my reactions to each update. That was the first. I actually did a video of one of the beta weekends, and then I didn't do any Guild Wars 2 videos at all for like a year or two. I actually stopped making YouTube videos. I had just started doing like Let's Plays and stuff. Because YouTube was kind of just becoming a thing. And then I was watching other people do Let's Plays of games, and I was like, oh, that looks like so much fun. I know how to video edit. I have a video recorder, camcorder. I can record the footage from my Super Nintendo. So that's how my YouTube channel got started, was I started doing Let's Play videos. And then when the Guild Wars 2 beta, there was a beta where you could play, I think, the Asura and the Sylvari, and I played the Asura, and that video was still on my channel. And so I did that one because I was just like, after the weekend, then you couldn't play, right? Because the game wasn't out yet. So that was, something to do in the meantime, right? And so I was making like other Let's Plays and stuff. And then once Guild Wars 2 launched, I never was like, I'm going to be a Guild Wars 2 creator, a YouTuber, right? Like that was never a thing in my mind. This game came out that I've been looking forward to for so long, and I was so excited. I just no-lifed. I no-lifed the first like year or two. I don't know how I should look at their timeline here. How long what was it? Whoa, that's way I went way ahead. Yeah, launched in August, and then in January. Wow, so season 1 came out really quick. Yeah, so for not even a year. But yeah, so until Living World, from launch to season 1 Twisted Marionette update, I didn't do any videos. It wasn't a thing that I even cared about doing. I just no-lifed the game. No-lifed Guild Wars 2 for the first year of its release. I just for me, myself, and I lived Guild Wars 2. So, and then I don't know, at some point, the Twisted Marionette episode, for whatever reason, I don't know if I just thought it looked so cool, and I just got the idea, like, I should record my reaction to this. And man, am I glad I did, because then I was like, wow, you know, like, I should record me playing every Guild Wars update, and then I just started doing that. And then it was every 2 weeks. It was every 2 weeks for a little bit, so... Man, I don't need sustenance. I need Guild Wars 2. That's right. I didn't play, like, I didn't do any, like, I didn't, like, it's not like I was doing other YouTube videos. Like, if you look at the dates, there's probably, like, a giant gap. August 2012. I stopped doing anything but Guild Wars 2. Like, I slept, I went to work, I ate, and I played Guild Wars 2. Like, that's all I did.
And we started doing, if you needed that idea, and so we pivoted from that, and then we started doing, if you showed up while the episode was live, you got it for free, and if you came after the 2-week window when it was live, you had to pay a small fee to get the episode. And we followed that model for a while, and that also was not a viable business model for us. And eventually we pivoted to going back to delivering expansions.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you just saw was the world premiere of the first expansion pack for Guild Wars 2.
I will never forget how he delivered that. That was, oh my god! You have to understand. You have to. They're breezing through this, but you have to understand. You have to understand the end of season season 2. Okay, the end of season 2 ended. Season 2 ends with a cutscene. You know that it's the finale. You know that it's the end of season 2. This is the finale episode of season 2. There's a cutscene. It ends with the Heart of Thorns logo, but it doesn't say expansion. This is in-game. We had no idea what Heart of Thorns was. This was a new logo, and they didn't have the Living World logo. This wasn't like a thing that, at least that I remember. I don't remember. This Living World logo came later. So when the season 2 episode finale ended with the Heart of Thorns logo fully animated and everything, we're going, what is that? Like, it's a new logo. Like, it had been years and there was no concept of an expansion for Guild Wars 2 because they're doing these Living World updates, right? And so it was a while that we were sitting on the Heart of Thorns logo, not having any idea what it was. Like, a lot of people said, oh, it's probably an expansion, but like, that wasn't for sure. We didn't know. We had no idea what Heart of Thorns was. And it wasn't until that live event where he said the first expansion pack, that was the moment that we knew that it was an expansion pack. Like, that was the reveal. It was wild. It was wild. That's why I often say that, like, there's no, except for launch, Heart of Thorns was like the hypest, like, marketing period that there has ever been for this game, because it was such intrigue of, you have the logo but you don't know what it is, and like everything in that cutscene like led into stuff that would be in Heart of Thorns, and like, but nobody knew what it was. And so everyone's having these conversations online. Everyone's asking each other, even at the event, everyone's going, do you know what Heart of Thorns is? I don't know what Heart of Thorns is. And like, before the presentation started, they're playing the Heart of Thorns music this new music that we'd never heard before in the auditorium, and we're all going like, oh my god, like what is this? Is this just a more living world? Why are they calling it Heart of Thorns? What is this, right? Like we had no idea. And then at that event was so crazy because not only does he drop the first expansion pack for Guild Wars 2, and like not only was that an insane moment, but then they start listing all of the features, the mastery system and the Revenant, a new profession, and whatever, something about legendaries. Like that was the first time there was like craftable precursors or something that was like and everybody was going to get like the elite specializations and everything. So it was like they were just dropping all the stuff, and there was like a new map for World versus World and all of the stuff, and it was insane. Like there was nothing more insane and hype than like the Heart of Thorns reveal and the time like immediately before and after it. It was absolutely insane. I like my mind, and the fact that I got to be there was, I still don't believe it was real. I don't think there will ever, I don't think anything in gaming for me will ever top that. Like, and that was the first time I met Bog in person, and then 2 weeks later they invited us out to the studio. Like there's literally no month more hype in my gaming life ever. Like there will never be, like I will never experience anything that hype again. And that was the height of my Guild Wars 2 obsession. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I got to experience that. Oh my god. I don't know if we're you can see us in the audience. I don't think you, maybe, I don't know.
A small fee to get the episode. And we followed that model for a while. And that also was not a viable business model for us. And eventually we pivoted to going back to delivering expansions.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you just saw was the world premiere of the first expansion pack for Guild Wars 2.
We did Heart of Thorns, we did Path of Fire, eventually End of Dragons, and so we did a handful of really big paid expansions for Guild Wars 2 with Living World episodes in between.
Baby Ori!
I would say cross-departmental collaboration is the biggest component to game development. If you can't succeed in that, you're not going to make a game.
There is a lot more of an emphasis on that collaborative element.
You know, in the creative process, like good ideas come from anywhere. There's entire features we built for the game that came from the mind of an artist, not a systems designer. There's artwork in the game that is inspired by something a designer said who had very little artistic skill.
People surprise you all the time with how creative they are.
Even going back so far as, you know, the Coden being these giant polar bears on these iceberg ships was born out of two amazing concept art pieces that we had early on.
Chili?
That just was the ships and these polar bear creatures, and it was like, this makes sense in our mind, and so we were inspired. And so a lot of what you see in the game and a lot of those cool moments are these inspirational points that we take from each other. And so when you talk about collaboration, it's not just about working side by side, but it's also about helping push each other to think outside the box, to find something new that we haven't considered before.
Yes.
Krakatork was a hard one in that cross collaboration,
Oh,
just because
cool.
like the request was we need a large dragon, and every team along the way was like, how are we going to do this?
He was such
love
a
it.
giant dragon.
I love seeing that.
And he
Wow.
is the asset, the art asset that we spent the most time on of any other asset in the game
Season
as
4.
a whole.
From concept,
Season 4, my guy.
you know, to modeling,
Oh
to
my
rigging.
God.
That was a big one. How we're going to animate it, how we're going to frame it, what's the sound, like even the audio team, like how do you make something sound big and impressive compared to the rest of the mix?
Why is that not my favorite cutscene in the game? Look at this.
Ended up being
This was
16
playable.
months of development time.
You had designers sitting next to
16
programmers, the
months.
environment artists sitting next to the designers to figure out how we were going to have the content
Over a
flow throughout
year
there,
to make
or working
Krakatork.
with the animators or the effects artists.
Is that the only like full? They've made all of Suwon. Suwon I think was a little smaller. But like is that the I mean, I think Zaitan was fully modeled. Like Jormag and Primordius I don't think are fully modeled. Like I don't think that we ever see all of Primordius and Jormag. But actually I think a lot of the other Elder Dragons we do. But the scale of Kralkatorrik, oh my god. Oh my god. It was the first time the scale of the dragons felt real, yes. And just this movement and stuff. Oh my god. Worth it. Worth every penny of dev time. Kralkatorrik, I mean, season 4 is often praised as like the height of this game. Like the stuff that they did in season 4 is unbelievable. And stuff like this, it's insane. Insane. Yeah, nothing was on the scale. Nothing in this whole game, I think, was on the scale of Kralkatorrik.
Designers sitting next to programmers, the environment artists sitting next to the designers to figure out how we were going to have the content flow throughout there, or working with the animators or the effects artists to really kind of make sure that it was a cohesive experience.
And we're on the back of Maureen
so
the entire
how
time.
we planned
That's
to
like,
use him
that's not a cutscene,
over
that's
the
in-game.
living world story was very strategic. And as we were continuing to create the art, it was like, well, how can we utilize him in Path of Fire?
So cool.
Okay, well, you
that story instance where you're fighting like Kralkatorrik's head, basically a neck, that was like the moment in season 4 that I felt when they were like, you know, the living world seasons are, you know, just as high quality as an expansion pack. This was the instance where I felt that harder than any other instance. I was like, this is expansion content. Like, this was, that instance was like for being outside of an expansion pack made my jaw drop. I was like, this is insane.
Art, it was like, well, how can we utilize him in Path of Fire? Okay, well, you can have his head. No, we can finish his head. And okay, well, let's focus on. And so that development process of going through an asset that's just so massive, but in a timeline where you're releasing something in a short time frame, how you're planning that out, how you're scheduling it, how you're building that asset. There was a lot going into that planning.
Wow, I love storyboards.
Dragonfall, where Kralkatorrik's falling through the void and down into the water to become an island, was the hardest cinematic to make just because we had this giant assets. And you're trying to like film it to be all in frame and not have clipping plane issues and not have LOD issues, which we did constantly. So it's like this battle between making it feel large, having it be in frame, and not clipping. It was a joy, I'll just say.
Oh my god, it was, I chills to this day.
Having a franchise that has persisted for so long means that it has just like a wealth of stuff to build upon, like the lore potential.
Narratively, I think we've grown in our storytelling quite a bit. I think that our characters really shine in Guild Wars 2. Not that they didn't in Guild Wars 1, but we have become a bit more of a character-focused narrative. So that's a big change. But honestly, I feel like that only just enriches the world, because then you're seeing
I think it's always been character
or the
focused.
Asura or whatever that
there's just so
live in
many
this
characters
world,
now,
and how they react to it and everything like that. So I actually feel like the shifts in how we've treated narrative have only been complementary to the overall franchise.
I'm going to dream now. Trauma.
There are definitely big moments in our story, whether it's the ending of the Elder Dragon saga, which was a huge moment for us.
Sobbing.
The one that I was the most excited about is actually the end after that. We had been trying to sort of cement a relationship with Casimir and Marjorie, two of our core characters, that from their introduction, they'd kind of had this, you know, hint of a relationship.
Ancient Peachy.
They're so cute. We kept trying to find.
This is my season 1. Like I said, this is season 1. I started recording my. This is like. Was that like our introduction? Almost. That was. Oh my god. That was such a sweet scene. That's like doesn't exist in the game anymore. This is season 1. Baby Peach. Look at that baby Peach. That was when I recorded it in the corner of my living room. That was the first corner in my of my living room that I recorded videos. When is their wedding? I know they're engaged. We better get the wedding. Give me the wedding, you cowards. Oh my god. Hi Leo, how you doing? Oh, I may have shed a tear watching last night. This documentary is insane. It's so good. This is so amazing. I didn't even have the corner shelf yet. No, I didn't. I added a shelf here later that I put like collectibles on. Yes, I was here for this was my season 1 corner. It's Aurora_Peachy. We were so young.
What's wrong? They'd kind of had this, hint of a relationship.
Hey, what's wrong?
Fairy milk, thank you.
Quiet today. Look, they're so cute.
We kept trying to find a place to really solidify what this
Good old
means.
Strawley.
And we tried at the end of our first expansion, and it didn't
I'm
fit.
so glad
and so we tried to find another place in the second expansion.
Do that.
Also,
Hey,
it was like,
Rompdolf,
no,
nice to meet you. Thank
it's too
you.
distracting. And so with the ending of the Elder Dragon saga, this felt like the best time to have a really calm, quiet moment just for them.
Well, friends,
man,
you're probably wondering.
So they've wanted to have Cass and Jory have this moment together for them since Path of Fire, and they just or even sooner, and they just never the timing didn't feel right. He said, but at the end of End of Dragons, it being the end of the Dragon Saga. This is this topped off the saga, right?
Today.
And I was thrilled because I think our community had been wanting that as much as we had been wanting to do it.
Hell yeah!
You stood by me through everything.
So seeing the community get to that point and seeing, people on live streams crying, sobbing, that it's, tears of joy that they finally got to see this emotional moment pay out. And I was like, yeah, that's why we do this.
Aww, thank you, Matthew, for finally getting it in there. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the most impactful, I think just moments that stick out to me in my time back at ArenaNet was actually the release of End of Dragons back in 2022. Because there was just so much that went on kind of behind the scenes and leading up to that moment that made it feel so powerful for us at the studio. I mean, we had, come off a layoff back in 2019, and then you slap a global pandemic on top of all of that, and it was pretty much a recipe for, things just being really tough.
Oof.
COVID was definitely an adventure.
I
remember the first day that they pulled us into the conference room, which was ironic since they were announcing a pandemic that they pulled everyone into a conference room. But be that as it may, they let us know that, what was going on and that we'd be closing the office. At the time, it seemed like it was going to be, a week or two, but I've been working from home since.
The thing that I thought was
working from
really
home
cool,
since. Wow, that changed things.
Made the statement that if we make online worlds and we connect people in this online world, then we absolutely can figure out how do we work together online. And that rally call, I think,
right, that's a good
together.
point.
We ended up releasing End of Dragons in early 2022, and I think it was really vindicating and just helped us, get past, I think, one of the darker chapters in ArenaNet's history with such a strong, successful release for us.
Yeah. Community, aww.
I think our relationship with the community has definitely been a huge, motivating factor over the years.
I feel nothing but very fortunate and very grateful that there's a community that has supported this stable project that we can continue to expand, continue to work on.
The fact that they've been along this journey with us for so long is just been awe-inspiring for us.
A lot of the connections that the community makes among themselves is incredibly exciting.
There are people from all over the country. There are people who meet across the world. There are people who met online and then got married in real life.
Wow.
It's magical.
There was this community of players called Gamers Giving Back who used to exist, and they used to do this stuff called Pink Day in LA, which was
that started in Guild
money
Wars
for,
1.
breast cancer awareness. And also every year they and another guild do this thing called Tyria Pride.
Yeah, oh my god!
A whole
wow.
load of players get into the game together, get as rainbowed up as they can.
Perizona was here earlier.
End to end in Tyria. Getting to walk through Tyria with those people, getting to be a part of that fundraising and that community, especially during the pandemic where everybody was locked in, is just really wholesome.
Daddy Commander cameo, let's go!
I also said to you right from the beginning that we would make Guild Wars 2 the first truly social online world. A world where you, your friends, everyone around it, you're all in it together, working together, relying on each other, where you're always happy to see another player. Now, something magical happened. You, the Guild Wars 2 community, you took that one and you made it your own. You have cemented your reputation as the single friendliest community in all of online gaming. Yes. Give yourselves a hand.
Heck yeah.
Over time, slowly, as the audience
There we are,
has
on the right,
changed
on the
and
right.
the size of the engagement
there
for
we
the
are.
product has shifted, we can no longer do giant expansions and Living World all at the same time. And so what we do today is every year we ship one new expansion for Guild Wars 2. And that expansion is broken up basically into 4 parts. There's a launch day version of the expansion where you get to experience a lot of the new features and a lot of the new region and story. And then every 3 months after that, in quarterly updates, we add chunks of the expansion until over the course of a full year, the expansion is released. And then we release another one. And we've been operating that model now.
And another
for
one, and
2
another
years.
one.
It's been awesome to see the transition from the sporadic cadence, you know, Heart of Thorns to Path to Fire, into something that's more regular for our players, so they have more expectations or clearer expectations about what's coming for them.
I ascribe very highly to this concept of the light at the end of the tunnel theory with an MMO, of if players don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, if they don't believe in the future, and if they don't have enough information to understand about where the game is going in the future to have that belief, then you are in huge trouble. And so, yeah, we watch really carefully what fans are talking about, what they're saying, the player sentiment within our community. And when we deliver things, we very often, you know, every year we do a big retrospective.
I want to go to a fan
on our
meetup someday,
expansion
but it's like on the
and talk
other
about
side
what
of the
went well
country.
and what didn't. What did we learn from you? What are you all saying that you didn't like?
They do.
And here's what
Man,
we're gonna
they
do to
take
try to make it
feedback.
better next time.
That's for sure.
Fundamentally, we sort of always look at like, what do players need? We try to solve player problems or fill gaps in the sort of player fantasy.
Mhm.
For like one of our recent ones, for example, Jantheir Wilds, we're like, well, you know, people love Tyria so much, they probably want a place to live in it. So that's why we settled on adding homesteads, because it's like people want to be able to have a home in the world that they love so much.
Housing, finally. Ah!
Home to me.
I've been here so much. No way, really? Oh my God. Housing? Housing? Pink haired peachy. I have a different hair color in every.
When
I have
we
a
start
different hair
new
color in every
expansion,
clip.
There's always kind of an early brainstorming through narrative, design, art. Like, okay, you know, what is design and narrative thinking?
No,
what's the story? Like,
See, I didn't know they were gonna use that. The company who made this doc contacted me a couple months ago and asked my permission to use my clips. And at the time, they said there's a clip from the end of Dragons, which ended up being the Cast Jory clip. I didn't know that. They just said something from End of Dragons. And they're like, you know, do we have your permission to use it? And I said, you could use any of my Guild Wars 2 videos you want. I was like, you have free reign. I just said, because I didn't want them to come back like, oh, can we also use this one? I was just like, you can use any Guild Wars video of mine that you want. So I just blanket, you know, my videos, all your videos. And so they did.
Where do we want to go? Where did we leave off? Where are the characters going? What's going to be our conflict? What's going to be the story? And then we start thinking about, okay, where haven't we gone?
In all the new content, new expansions,
Where
there's
haven't we
always a
gone?
goal of trying to show players a new experience.
Did you see
or a
that
new
gold
twist
lion behind him?
on
I just noticed.
Guild Wars 2 that they haven't done before.
In our brainstorming sessions, like, it is really cool seeing, like, what if we do this crazy thing, or what if we like so you can kind of get out of the box.
You know, we can have very serious stories, we could have humorous stories, we can go a little bit horror, we can go a little bit light. I'm still waiting for a musical. I keep poking narrative about this. Come on, let's just do
Keep
it. Musical
poking.
expansion.
So
Musical
the next
let's go.
expansion, one of the
Yes.
ideas was, you know, tropical. We wanted to go for
Yes.
adventurous, tropical, but jungle, danger, extreme magic, kind of a Bermuda Triangle-y kind of, okay, that why hasn't this place been explored before? Why hasn't anybody talked about this?
Down.
nothing
Guild Wars 2, the
escapes
musical. Cast Jory musical wedding. Yes.
So it is.
Visions of Eternity. Oh yes, Foley, let's go.
Visions of Eternity, it has been an interesting creative process because the player is going to a new land that they've never been before. It allows us a lot of creative freedom to like make something new, but there's also the challenge of like making it feel like a part of the game, integrated with the rest of the lore.
It's the first time in a long time, if ever, that we are giving the players just like a whole new place.
Right.
And I think that has given us a lot of challenges, right? Like creating an entirely new space that had no previous reference or culture. But I think it also means that it gave us a lot of freedom and flexibility to really shape the space in the way that we wanted to. Our goals, our kind of highest level goals, were exploration and discovery. If you look deep enough and if you spend the time to kind of go to all parts, you're always going to find something intriguing. And that is something that I am very excited about.
It's always fun seeing some of the new technology coming in or new, like, clever ways to build something. Looking into
I gotta do that
Visions of
event.
Eternity.
I tried it
don't wanna
once and
spoil
failed
too
because I was
much,
the only one
but
there.
We had internal tests going on where I encountered an event and I was watching it and thinking, how did they pull this off?
Commander,
so cool. There are a lot of those
we've
in
been
VOE.
cleared to sail. Our crew's all here, just getting things boarded up and ready to go.
They really are, Jupiter.
It's been cool from like the story standpoint of like trying to decide what sort of existing lore we want to weave in there. How does this build upon
All the
existing
plushies!
lore? How does this enrich the world as a whole? What is this giving to
Wow.
players? How is this like creating a new and unique experience for them without being limited by like what happened in Guild Wars 1 or, you know, even what happened earlier in Guild Wars 2.
One of the biggest challenges that I have as a narrative designer is keeping it all straight in my head. Guild Wars as a franchise has been around now for 20 years, and that's a lot of information. I remember a lot, but I don't remember everything. I don't always remember which parts are things we concepted, which parts we published, which parts are out there in interviews versus whether, right? Like I use the community a lot, whether it's going to our wiki.
The wiki community
Oh,
in
the
particular,
wiki.
like how detailed all those pages are.
I'll tell you, our player wiki is when we talk about stuff internally and we're like, hey, what is this event all about? One of our designers will link the public documentation on things before trying to look at the internal documents. Because the internal documents is all over the place, right? The wiki is going to be like spot on some things.
Right, and again, and the publicly released info.
Where did we say that? How often did we say that? Making sure that I'm checking against what the community, which is amazing at like condensing all the stuff that we have put out there. They do that so well that I use them as a resource all the time.
Every time I play another game and I'm like, oh, let's try to find out what this quest is about. I'm like, yeah, this isn't as nice.
Oh man, wiki team.
And while this threat was ended, the legends would continue.
You know, we still have this tradition of we want to respect the origins of this because we also know that not all of the Guild Wars 1 fans became Guild Wars 2 fans. Like they found something in there and they really loved it. And so we want to continue to support that and protect that as long as we can.
You know, this year's Guild Wars 1 turns 20. And I think the cool thing there is not only did we as a studio celebrate it by, you know, making announcements and releasing some surprises to a 20-year-old game and showing people, hey, not only is it still available, the servers are still on, your stuff is still there, you could go back in and play it. But there were a lot of people who never played it at all who were then like, hey, maybe I'll give this a shot.
We're doing an event where we're all replaying Guild Wars 1 together with real
Oh my god, the
people.
20th anniversary. She
Most
put so
dedicated
much
streamers
work into that
started
20th
holding events,
anniversary
just
community
welcoming
event.
people in and saying, hey, I'm going to spend this entire month playing this game that was a big part of my life back then, and I'm going to bring you all for the ride.
Oh, I see. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Let's just be part. Let's just be part of it.
Guild Wars 1 has been up 100% for the last 6 years. The original goal was 5 nines.
Oh my god.
99.999%, which is 5 minutes a year of downtime.
5
we've had
minutes
about
a
32
year.
hours total over the entire course of Guild Wars 1. So what is that, 99.995 or something?
Guild Wars
It's
1 has been
extraordinary.
down
And
for
then for Guild Wars 2,
a
where
day
there's way
in
more
20
active
years.
development. And actually,
It's
you know,
the
it's
pre-show.
like 99.95 or something, which is extraordinary given the huge amount of change. Like
insane.
Went from 17 gigs to 70 gigs that we've shipped now, and all kinds of new game modes.
The
and it's
downtime,
all down
though.
to
Eat it. Every other
quality
MMO who has to go
engineering,
down for
quality
half a
mindset,
day to
just
update.
Really giving people the time to do the job right, because then when it's
Insane.
done, you can move on to the
Insane.
next thing, and you just get this compounding
God.
product of greatness, really. It's just fantastic. So for me, it's just more than a technical achievement. It's an entire studio achievement. And the reason other companies don't do it is because it wasn't built into what they do.
We're going to continue to support this game as long as we can, because we also believe it's part of that foundation of what it means to be Guild Wars, or what it means to be ArenaNet IP.
Look at that timeline. Look at that beautiful timeline. Look at that beautiful timeline. Ah! I love the Guild Wars 2 logos so much.
I don't know if there's a lot of places where like you have employees who've been here for like 20 years.
I started at ArenaNet late 2004.
At various like company-wide meetings, we'll be like, okay, for this month, here's the list of anniversaries. And there's people who have been here longer than me, and some of them have the same hire month as me. So every time it comes up, I'm like, yeah, 17 years, that's impressive, but here's the guy with 18. I'm like, oh, okay.
Compare and despair, dude.
21
No,
years.
compare and
This
despair.
year, I'll be hitting my 20-year
17 years,
anniversary,
insane.
so
20
There's
years, oh my
very,
God.
very few
Insane.
game studios out there that have folks who have stayed that long. And we also have a huge history of boomerangs, as we like to call ourselves, of people
Boomerangs.
who've been here a long time and then we leave. And we go somewhere else, and
Oh,
we
that giant D20.
realize there is really
Colin
something
left
special
for a
about
while.
this
He
place,
worked for Amazon,
we come
and then
back.
he came back.
I was here for about
I'm so
9
glad.
years.
So glad
And then
everyone's back.
left
He's back.
for a handful of years. Now I'm back.
We've seen
back.
over time, myself included, those of us who eventually find employment somewhere else.
Oh, I didn't do
there's
that giveaway.
always this
I was
natural
interrupted by
pull to
food.
come back, because there's something special here.
And this is a great place. And as one of its leaders, like I'm gonna do my damnest to
One
make
of the
sure we have
leaders.
another 20 years after
Look at
this.
the boat.
We care
Leader
about
because
our people,
she was
and
an assassin
in, doing so,
in Guild
that
Wars 1.
makes everyone put forth their best effort, and so we end up, I think, providing our community, our players, with that same sense of love. It's sort of like paying it forward.
Also, beyond just the people, I love the franchise. Like, I love the world that we've built. I feel like a certain level of stewardship for it at this point, because I've worked on it for so long. I honestly can't really imagine working on a different game. Like, I just love Tyria.
This is, for many of us, the world we would
why
love
I'm still
to be
here.
in.
Even after 20 years, there's still a lot of stories left to be told. I have just like the longest list of like, oh, I want to do like touch
Oh, I
on
can't
that
even
at some
imagine
point.
the list of like,
future
I
could
want to
be
do this.
with us.
The biggest risk of building a game
Dagdo
like
was
this
talking to us.
is it's really easy to stop taking chances. Just stop trying to take risks, because the scope is so big, and because it's so monolithic, and there's so much time that goes into it, and they're so expensive to make, that a lot of times it's very easy to make the easy choice and say, let's just pick this that we know we can deliver, and then let's guarantee we can hit it and we don't have to worry about it. But it's not what this genre needs. What this genre desperately needs is people asking, how do we do something new? How do we take what we've all been playing for 20 years
Yet
and try
keep
to
the
turn it on
players
its head
first.
and evolve or innovate, and being willing to fail sometimes by trying new things? And that's the DNA of ArenaNet. That's what we're all about.
Our story is not done. You know, Guild Wars is going to keep going, and I think we're going to keep trying to push boundaries. And I think that our legacy here has to be being a bunch of good humans trying to do cool things.
I think the legacy of Guild Wars, to me, is
All my
kinda
game boxes framed like
continuous.
that.
Yes, it has been 20
Oh,
years.
look
And
at
you
that.
can kind of pause and look back and see how our community has supported us, how our creative endeavors and kind of explorations and stuff had continued, and we're building this world. But you don't sit and look back too much. For me, I'm proud
That's so
of
cool.
what
I've
we've
seen that.
created, but also excited for what we're going to create.
I'm excited for the next 20, because the same
the next
drive
20.
that I had when I first started here is still throughout this building. I feel like while we've gotten past the first chapter, we're still just
I want a
continuing to write
poster
this
of that
novel.
timeline. Ah, look at it go. Look at it go. We're going. We're going. We got some more Visions of Eternity to go. And then what's next? Thank you for 20. Yay! I'm gonna cry. That mural was my inventory. Aww. Was that the timey? Foley! Yay, so many unsung heroes. Yay, that was so wonderful! This is so cool. I'm so glad this was made. This is so awesome. So much appreciation for the people who actually make the game. Oh my god. Oh my god. There's us. There's us. Yay. Hee hee.
Is there anything you like? Do you need any?
So good. I will, thank you. They credited AuroraPeachy, but not Aurora_Peachy. Aurora_Peachy gonna come for him. Oh my gosh, that was so wonderful. Thank you for that existing. So wonderful.